Coming up, protecting citizens and prosecuting criminals. The police chief and the state's attorney sit down to discuss issues in public safety. Also, what does it take to study and train for a career in law enforcement? Plus, a behind-the-scenes look at police academy training. Next on Around Prince George's.
Welcome to this edition of Around Prince George's. I'm Charlene Dukes, president of Prince George's Community College. From national terror threats to keeping our community safe from crime, public safety is everyone's concern. We depend on law enforcement and our legal system to work together to provide a safe place for us to live and work.
Public safety. It's the #1 priority for the police department and the state's attorney's office. The mission of the police department is to patrol our streets, respond to emergencies, and to investigate, identify, and apprehend suspected criminals. The state's attorney's office safeguards the community through the prosecution of criminal matters. It's a relationship that's working to keep the citizens of our county safe. Over the last 5 years, Prince George's County has seen a significant reduction in crime, with rates reaching its lowest point in more than 3 decades.
Here with me to discuss issues in public safety is Prince George's County Police Chief Mark McGaugh and Prince George's County State's Attorney Angela Also Brooks. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being here with us. We know that crime has reached its lowest rate, I believe, in the last 36 years in Prince George's County, and we've seen significant decreases in violent crime over a period of time. So, Chief McGaugh, why don't you talk to us about what are some of the key initiatives and successful strategies that you've employed in your department?
Right. Well, I think when we talk about crime, it's taking a holistic approach. And when Mr. Baker first came in, we sat down and talked about some of the different issues that we needed to deal with. One of the big ones is Transforming Neighborhood Initiatives that the county executive instituted, but it brings all elements of the county government into this fight to reduce crime, and it's been tremendously successful. If you look at 2011, our first full year in this position, we were down 12% in violent crime. Every violent crime category was down 12%. That was twice the national average. Last year, we were down 9%. This year, violent crime, we're down 18% as we sit right now. But more importantly, when you look at those numbers, in 2011, we had 3,000 less victims. In 2012, almost 2,400 less victims. And this year, right now, we're at 1,500 less victims than we had last year. So we're building success on success, and a lot of it is, and we could have the whole conversation about this, but one of the big things is the relationships that we have and built with the state's attorney's office. We work hand in hand on all of our crime issues, and it's really made a difference.
And maybe, Ms. Also Brooks, you could tell us how that relationship works. What's new and good today about this relationship?
I think the chief is absolutely right. Collaboration has been the word of the day. I believe it started right away with the county executive. We meet once a month with the chief of police, the sheriff, the county executive. We even meet with the Department of Corrections. All of us sit around a table and discuss crime in the county, our strategies, what's working, what's not. We're able at that table to also say these are areas that we can collaborate in. And we talk about legislation. It is a really robust conversation that happens every month. In addition to that, we have prosecutors who are allowed now into the training classes. So as we have police cadets who are coming online, we're allowed to begin those relationships very early. I think this is critical as well, to talk about the law, to talk about some of what we're seeing in our cases. And I think this becomes really important, not only to begin the conversation about the cases, but to also establish relationships with the new cadets who are coming in. So the relationships are much better. I think they're the best they've been probably in the last 20 years. And I say that only because I'm hearing that from the police as well. And so it is a really collaborative relationship. The chief came in as well to address some of the issues that have been problematic for us over the years. We had issues regarding failures to appear, for example. There was a communication gap with police officers receiving notices to come to court. the chief right away came in and established an office in the courthouse, a liaison office, which means that we now have enhanced communication to make sure that all of our witnesses are in place and prepared to go forward in our cases. So it means that there are fewer opportunities for folks to kind of get off,
Right.
and for the cracks are really mending slowly but surely, and I think it's making a difference.
Well, I know I'm certainly excited to hear that, and I know our residents are as too, are as well. And as we think about some things that I know that we're all concerned about, we think about legislation that was recently both passed and signed
Yes.
in the state of Maryland that deals with guns.
Right.
So talk to us a little bit about what's been done to reduce gun violence in the county and how the departments might be working together on that.
Right.
So why don't we start with you, Chief?
Right. And I think that's the legislative piece, and if I can touch on that just a moment. The county council has been all in with us. They've had numerous county bills that have helped us do our job better. And at a state level, obviously, the gun registry unit that we've stood up, and as part of a county bill that was passed, nightclub legislation, getting us involved in commercial development before it's built to look at it from a public safety standpoint. But the gun piece is huge. And one of the things, we've had gun buybacks or gift cards for guns,
Yes.
which has been very, very successful. Along with NAACP has partnered with us to do that, which has been a great outreach into the community. But our gun offender registry that was approved by the county council helps us track people that carry guns, use guns in violence, and help them basically stay within their probation. And if they don't, then they're violated and we'll put them back in jail. But it allows us to help them stay on course and stay out of jail. But really, a lot of what we're doing is community-oriented policing. Our relationship with the community has never been better. Our numbers continue to grow. Mr. Baker's allowed us to get to 1,800, which where we should be is a little bit more than that. But because of our relationship with the community, our effectiveness has grown exponentially, and that's really the core piece. But tying down and getting a hold on the gun issue has been a very significant piece for what we're doing.
Well, let me ask you, Ms. Also Brooks, how does that help you in the work that you're doing as state's attorney and certainly those other attorneys who are with you, ensuring that once the chief does his job, then you're doing your job and have the capability to do so?
Well, with respect to the guns in particular, the Firearm Safety Act this past year, we worked really closely. I know the chief was there, the sheriff was there for the legislation that really did two things, important things for us. One thing is, and we want to be entirely clear, the public is very concerned about guns. We are not removing guns from law-abiding people. Right. The legislation is not retroactive, so anyone who legally possessed a gun prior to this October remains in possession of their guns. But the gun legislation did two important things. One is that it allowed us to keep guns out of the hands of disqualified individuals. So the current legislation allows us now to require licensing. The licensing that we require for people to now obtain guns requires a fingerprint. This fingerprint is critical because part of what we've had is this straw purchasing where individuals who are disqualified from possessing guns can go to an aunt, a girlfriend, some other person and pay that person to apply for a gun license and to get them the guns. Now with the fingerprint legislation, we believe that this will discourage individuals who would have been inclined prior to now. If you have to submit your fingerprint, it makes it more difficult for you to purchase a gun for a disqualified individual. That is very helpful to us as we move forward to make sure that individuals who should not be in possession of guns will not. In addition to that, there is now a mental health component to the new legislation, and the chief, I know, can talk to this, speak to this as well, as we have seen an increase in individuals who suffer from mental illness, who have come into possession of guns, and the effects are catastrophic. We had the University of Maryland student who just this year in February killed himself and killed a roommate and injured another roommate. This was a young man who was suffering from a mental illness, who purchased an Uzi and who also purchased a 9mm gun following an admission for mental illness into a facility. The new legislation allows us now to screen individuals a little more carefully, to have the communication be more seamless, and so these are ways that we are finding that the legislation has been very helpful.
And then I know that we're doing a number of things around traffic safety, domestic violence. I know we're looking at the use of motorcycles on our roads, which is again the traffic safety issue. And you mentioned Transforming Neighborhoods initiative. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with more discussion on public safety in Prince George's County.
Can you consent with me? Imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read.
So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child.
So let's join hands, book people unite. Unearth hidden passion. Come on, we'll have a good time. One book could be the first little thing that helps to change a life. People unite.
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
Welcome back to the program. Let's continue our discussion of public safety with Chief Mark McGaugh and State's Attorney Angela Also Brooks. And I know that we were talking about domestic violence, and I know there's a domestic violence unit, and there's also, again, a continuing relationship with the Office of the State's Attorney. So talk to us about what seems to be going on in the county with regard to domestic violence and the steps that we're taking.
Right. Well, domestic violence, not only in this community but across the country, is a crime that has gone unserviced, in my opinion, for a long time. When we first came in, one of the first conversations I had with Mr. Baker is we need to revamp how we handle domestic violence calls for service, and that's what we've done. We've, on a state level, there's a lethality assessment. So every time that an officer goes out to a domestic violence call, a lethality assessment is filled out. If there's significant risk to a victim or potentially to one of the suspects or one of the people in that home, an immediate referral is made to Family Crisis Center. So that's being done across the county right now by all patrol districts. We also have a pilot program going on now in District 4, Oxon Hill, in the southern part of the county, with our crisis management teams. So not only are police officers being dispatched to domestic calls, but also the crisis management professionals, mental health professionals, to actually go and help us evaluate the situation. So those two things. We also have centralized our domestic violence unit. Before they were in each district station, everyone did things a little bit differently. It's now been centralized under the Criminal Investigation Division, under specific sergeants and lieutenants, to make sure that across the board we're doing things above and beyond what we were doing before.
Right. So what does that mean for the state's attorney's office? So, you know, the police department has obviously managed to create this unit and to be very focused on who is part of that partnership. And then there clearly is a role for the state's attorney.
Exactly. Well, you know what, the way that it works is that having the police engaged as early as they are and having them as educated as they are about domestic violence means that we put together stronger cases. Ultimately, we want to be able to be very aggressive in the courtroom where these cases occur, and having police as partners in the way that we have, and we do cross-training as well to make sure that we have very strong cases, that we have the statements that we need, that we have the evidence that we need, so that when one of these cases occur, we're able to be very firm in terms of prosecuting the cases. Now, one of the other things that we're working on is making sure that we're in a prevention mode, because obviously once the crime has occurred, it's not too late, but we want to see fewer victims. That really ultimately is the goal of public safety, is to have fewer victims and less crime. And so part of what we're working on is an effort to prevent crime. We are teen dating violence summits that we have all been very active in. Our prosecutors, I know that the police department has been engaged as well in educating the public. We've gone to churches to educate individuals about the signs of domestic violence. We've been working collaboratively as well to bring a family justice center to Prince George's County under the leadership of Judge Tillerson Adams. We're hoping to have that so that we have resources under one roof where we can service victims of domestic violence in one location. So we're working there, and prevention really is where we're headed. We were in Annapolis this past January as well, testifying for legislation that would make it an additional penalty to commit an act of violence in the presence of a child. Now, the reason this becomes important is because we've learned now that children are the invisible victims of domestic violence. and individuals who witness violence are more than twice as likely, especially boys, to repeat it. So what we have to do is to prosecute firmly when it occurs, but we've got to, and I know the chief and I were having this conversation even before we started, we got to get there sooner, we have to get there early and prevent it.
Right, and we know that as we move to talk a little bit about truancy and some of the relationships with our institutions of education, that domestic violence also certainly rears its ugly head on college campuses. So as we move forward, we'll certainly look to engaging in a partnership with you all too here at Prince George's Community College. So let's go to school safety, and you know they've been talking a lot about bullying. What do you see as the role of our school resource officers and again the state's attorney's office as schools continue to grapple with this issue of bullying?
Right. Bullying is a serious incident within the schools. I mean, it's going on all the time, and we have to get involved along with the state's attorney and the community. One of the things when we first came in and Mr. Baker first took office is actually fought to get back into the schools, the police department back into the schools. We now we cover every high school, and we have 10 officers assigned to the middle schools. So we've expanded that, but we need to cover every middle school, in my opinion. We need to continue to expand that. But as we do, we build relationships within those schools with the youth in the community, and it's critically important for us that we build relationships at every level, and specifically that one. But bullying, we can make a difference together, the community, the police department, state's attorney's office, all of us together, that this won't be tolerated, and work with the schools and not just push it off that's the school's problem. No, it's all of our problems.
So if and it's all of our problems, so Ms. Alsobrooks, give us maybe the 30-second certainly comment from the state's attorney's office relative to your role in decreasing bullying in our schools.
Bullying is a complex issue. It is. It takes all of us, the Department of Social Services, police, prosecutors. Again, it goes toward prevention. We want to know why the bullying is occurring. So we've met with the school system. We're working on truancy. And what truancy allows us to do is to get inside those families and to find out what's happening with young people that causes them to go to school and to engage in all of these behaviors. We've been very involved in truancy this year, and I think it's an early entry point for us to get into the households. We partner with the Department of Social Services, and I think that, again, the focus is not only prosecuting when it happens, but let's find out why it's happening. And I think that once we do that, we'll address some of these underlying social issues that are causing young people to go to school and to act out in this way.
And I think that it's absolutely wonderful how the state's attorney's office and the police department have been able to connect the dots with these collaborations. And what I'd like to do is to thank you, Chief McGaugh, and thank you, Ms. Alsobrooks. I commend both of you for all that you're doing to keep our community safe and to educate us. When we return, if you're considering a career in public safety or law, we've got information on programs here at Prince George's Community College.
$7,000 high school students drop out every school day. Let's catch them before it's too late. To start helping students in your community, visit boostup.org.
Welcome back. Law enforcement is a challenging and rewarding profession. Here with me to provide information about public safety and law programs at Prince George's Community College is Ms. Diane Salen, Director of the Public Safety and Security Institute, which includes our Police Academy. We also have Professor Laura Ellsworth, Chair of the Public Safety and Law Department, and Chief Larry Walker, Head of the Campus Police at Prince George's Community College. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So, Chief Walker, we're going to start with you. Can you talk about why it's important to have a police department on a college campus?
Yeah, absolutely. In recent years, a number of issues have taken place within the college environments and college universities that require a level of security that's not required in the past. We talk about incidents, situations like Virginia Tech and many of the universities where armed intruders and other serious incidents have happened. It's a necessity now that colleges and universities maintain somewhat of a self-sufficient security force or police force to address some of these issues. You take in consideration that many of the local police departments and local police agencies are overwhelmed with their own issues. We, as a college environment and the universities, realize that we have to take a larger role in protecting ourselves and being prepared for those issues that we may not have access to the local, county, and state officials.
And Ms. Salen, as the director of the public safety, the institute that we have, we know that we also have as part of that a police training academy. Yes. So can you talk about that program, what it does, why would someone choose that program here at the college?
Our police academy program is the same police academy that any law enforcement officer in the state of Maryland would have to go through, the same training, the same objectives, the same standards that any law enforcement officer in the state of Maryland would have to meet. And so we hold that here at the college, and students are able to be what we call self-sponsored, which means they apply to the program. We use the same hiring standards that a law enforcement agency would use to determine admission to the program, and then they complete that same law enforcement training. They receive a certificate from the college and the state, and then they are able to market themselves to law enforcement agencies throughout the state of Maryland as certified police officers.
And can you talk to us about where some of our graduates are currently working in Prince George's County or the state of Maryland or the region even?
We have graduates of our program that are working currently in Cheverly, here in Prince George's County, Laurel City, Hyattsville City, Greenbelt City, Mount Rainier. We have some of them that go to larger agencies, Amtrak Police Department. We have some that go to the Eastern Shore that work there as well. So they really are eligible to work anywhere in the state of Maryland, but many of them do stay local in Prince George's County.
And you mentioned that our students go through the same process as any training academy. So what are some of the requirements for entry into the program?
They have to be at least 21 years old by the time they graduate from the program. They have to be a U.S. citizen by birth or naturalization, high school diploma or GED. They have to have a good driving record, and they have to have a criminal history that's free of felonies or serious misdemeanors, and they have to be of good moral character. So we conduct a background investigation to ensure that they meet those standards, which are state hiring standards for police officers.
And then Professor Ellsworth, we know that you're chair of the Public Safety and Law Department. So can you talk a little bit about the different concentrations, the different programs that we have in criminal justice here at Prince George's Community College?
Sure. In criminal justice, we actually have a degree, a transfer degree, and an Associate of Applied Science degree in criminal justice, as well as a certificate. We have two options in the criminal justice program as well. One of them is correctional services, and one of them is cybercrime investigation, in which we offer a degree and a certificate.
And then what are people able to do with those programs?
These are associate degrees, so our students can go on and do entry-level positions in law enforcement as police officers, correctional service officers, TSA, airport security, private security, and a number of other entry-level positions. For cybercrime, they could do entry-level in information systems, cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm. And then as we see students moving through these programs, do you see a real demand for these careers, and what are some salaries they could command?
Oh, absolutely. Public safety careers are always in demand. And the salaries can range. I mean, again, these are entry-level positions. Police departments probably have the highest salary right now, in the mid-40s, getting closer to $50,000, which is not bad if you're 21 years old and getting an entry-level position and you have a take-home car and things like that. For the cybersecurity, they pay well also. Correctional it may be a little bit lower, so the salaries tend to be, I would say, anywhere from the mid-30s to the upper 40s.
Great. And then Chief Walker, a last question for you. We talked about the importance of having these programs on college campuses. How do you see yourself interacting with the local police departments as we work to ensure that the college is a safe place to be?
Certainly, we have an excellent relationship with the local authorities. much of our training is done, and we have the benefit of having the police academy here on our campus, so we are readily accessible to the latest training available. We are in the process of working in concert with them regarding certain exercises and disaster planning issues that may come up. We have to be connected. Right now, as a matter of fact, several years ago, when we went to the interoperability with the radios, we are able to communicate directly with the county and state agencies, which is a big plus for us, along with the fire departments. We're also working under the same command system, the incident command system, which is a common language for everyone. So this shows you where it has come from over a period of time. So we're right in tune or right in step with the local law enforcement or the county enforcement agencies.
Okay. Well, we certainly want to thank you, Chief Walker, Ms. Salen, and Professor Ellsworth for providing important information for people who may be interested in starting their careers in criminal justice here at Prince George's Community College. As we close, here's a behind-the-scenes look at the rigors of police recruit training and some of our proud graduates. Thanks for watching Around Prince George's.
We are looking for candidates that truly want a career in law enforcement. This is not a job, this is a profession, and it's something that you have to make a very large commitment to. And so that's our first and foremost, somebody that has a true vested interest in a career in law enforcement.
Candidates must present 3 letters of reference from people who can attest to the applicant's honesty, integrity, and morals. Candidates must also have a good driving record, with no more than 3 current points without any serious driving offenses.
Our goal is to make sure that our recruits, first of all, are hireable recruits.
After satisfying the minimum requirements, Police Academy candidates must be able to pass an entrance exam, which includes a fitness test.
Our academy is physical, so they should be physically fit, some level of physical fitness, but there is a large academic component to it as well. So having some study skills, writing skills are going to be important in this training, but ultimately also in your career as a law enforcement officer. We are one of the only full-service police academies that will offer students the opportunity to self-sponsor themselves through the program. So we can have a student apply for our program and pay tuition and go through our program and then become gainfully employed as a police officer. Our recruits go all over the state of Maryland to various different agencies. Tuition to our program, which runs approximately $3,800, and that includes our background investigation fee, includes uniforms and textbooks, firearms training, and driver training. There are no hidden fees.
If you're prepared for a highly structured, physically intense, and mentally demanding study of law enforcement, then contact the Police Academy at Prince George's Community College. Call 301-322-0175 or log on to www.pgcc.edu.
Our recruits, when they go through this program, they are going to get the very best training that they can as a law enforcement officer in the state of Maryland. So 6 months is a long time to make a commitment, but ultimately the reward is a career in law enforcement that's very rewarding in and of itself.